guys want to get some coffee or something?
Can I get a cup of coffee? Black? Can't you see we talking? White?
Even little kids in Mexico drink coffee.
Well, I'm not a little kid in Mexico, okay?
That is the best coffee I've ever tasted.
A damn fine cup of coffee.
You want a cup of coffee?
No coffee.
Coffee drinker, huh?
Maybe we could grab some coffee?
Coffee, 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 coffee.
How you doing, fellas? That's no decaf, is it?
Viennese cinnamon.
Viennese cinnamon. Ooh, I am having very good. I got some of that, the syrups the fancy syrups with no sugar added. Some, I don't know what to call it. It's not just regular caramel. It's salted caramel to add to my coffee. So if Mexican children drink coffee like this, God bless them. Mm.
So you like salty, huh, Gary?
Shut up, Don. There's this girl. I don't want to say her name because she's probably still quite alive. We were in middle school, 8th grade, and Mr. Dernbeck, God rest his soul, committed suicide. I think really because of Mike Beatty, Jim Woodward, and me. I think we tormented him to the point where he blew his brains out. He would let us have record time at the end of class. If we got all our work done, we get like a half hour to listen to music in class. And so I'd bring in Billy Joel, and during one of the things, it was brought up he would give these like free lectures while the music would play. And he was talking about the sodium content in the human body. And we're all like, And he's like, everything that comes from a human being has a certain amount of sodium in it. And I won't say her last name. Her name was Peggy, just like on the Bundys. And she says, "Is that why semen is salty?"
Oh.
And we all have one of these things. Every single guy in the class goes, and she goes, I read. What the fuck? Where did you read that, swank?
Just 1 minute and we have breach.
Yes, of course. And speaking of back doors, I found this yesterday, and to the chagrin of the woman I love, I'm still going to show them. Here they are. These are the Coke glasses I was talking about in that story. That's it. There's one of those. My. That is the exact model. And yeah.
So apparently they're ribbed for his pleasure too.
Ribbed for his pleasure. So let's see. Let's get that breach video going here.
Well,
I was going over some of the news, Don. And really, we had a lot of, I'm not going to say a lot, but we had some significant shit happen this year with UFOs, or UAPs as they like to call them. Here we go. Back door.
Open
your back door, baby. All right, Don, go ahead.
I call them flying saucers. The hell with it.
Yeah, fuck them. But I was looking at the one thing, and of course, one of the biggest things that happened this year was the hearing that took place. It's an hour and 28 minutes. The government investigation into UAPs, UFOs. And if you watch the whole thing on C-SPAN, and here's a video, I'm going to share it in the chat. You can actually go watch the whole video if you want to. This is fascinating because we had some stuff that came down this year that we didn't have before. And we now have an organization created by the Department of Defense that established the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. And, this was designed specifically.
Get it all out, Gary, because I feel a rant building.
Go for it when it comes. But before you do, I just found it interesting that we finally created an organization that removes the stigma from pilots reporting. Because, for 50 years, you didn't want to fucking make a report. And they show it in Close Encounters. I like that scene. You remember with the what do you call them? Controllers, the guys that radar.
Air traffic
controllers. And he goes, would you like to report anything? And he goes, no, I don't want to report anything. Just had a fucking close encounter. He doesn't want to give a report because they feared for their fucking jobs. And I blame our own government for this shit. They're the ones who started that fucking shit. The CIA, the Air Force, in tandem. They were like, you've seen those tandem people jumping out of an airplane. That's the CIA and the Air Force right there. You don't know who's holding the actual chute. Sometimes it's one, sometimes it's the other. But they're fucking jerks, man.
And you're just hoping that the chute doesn't open.
If only.
Okay, here's the deal. From day one, it was obvious. And I'm talking about 1947, day one. All right, now, a lot of stuff happened before that, stuff that was reported. Nobody had an idea what it may have been. Charles Fort, who is the icon of the Fortean Society back in the late 19th century, was reporting on all types of oddities, including aerial phenomena. Okay, so if you get right down to it, other than the ancient texts that mention weird things flying in the sky, Fort was the first guy to really document this. Now, with that being said, something may or may not have happened in Port Girard, Missouri during the war, World War II. Okay, right. There have been a lot of wonky reports that something crashed there. Did it? I don't know. But in 47, after we detonated 3 atomic bombs, we detonated the one at White Sands as a test. Then we detonated Hiroshima over Japan and then Nagasaki. Suddenly, we were very interesting to somebody. Okay. Yeah. Now, these things start showing up. Military pilots are seeing them and reporting them. People like Major Donald Kehoe, a medically retired Marine Corps aviator, okay, who was a recognized aviation authority, wrote articles for aviation and all types of magazines across the country, sat up and took notice. Initially, he was, like probably everybody else, very skeptical. But he started following this, and finally it came to him like an epiphany. My God, there is something to this. Korea starts. First jet aircraft war. I mean, there was during World War II, at the end of the war, the Nazis had their Me-262, but now everybody had a jet, okay? Jet fights were happening in the skies over Korea. First, we had F-89s, and we went to the F-86 Sabre. Yeah. And UFOs show up. UFOs buzz the battlefields. UFOs buzz the aircraft. These things are reported. Whoever was in charge back at the Pentagon knew, by God, they had something real here, and it had them freaked out. They knew it then. Now, 52 happens. Washington, D.C. overflights. Not 2, but ultimately 3 weekends these things overflew the nation's capital and restricted airspace. Congress, the White House, the Pentagon, they knew. Now, it was never acknowledged, okay? People were screaming for congressional investigations. Donald Keyhoe, when he took over NICAP in 1956, demanded it. The NICAP board of directors included a lot of his military classmates because Keyhoe had been an Annapolis graduate. He went to the Naval Academy and then entered the Air Force. Keyhoe was a force to behold back in those days. Keyhoe wanted congressional hearings. Nobody would do it. And I'm looking at all this, and I put on my cop hat years ago to try to figure out what the hell could have been the reason that the military, the government, the intelligence people would not acknowledge that we had something in the skies we couldn't identify. Everybody knew it, especially the people that had witness sightings. And it came to me. The powers that be had to have been confronted with something so initially terrifying that they basically crapped their pants. And they knew, especially back in those days, and I'm talking mid-20th century, that the American public would have been devastated if they knew the reality and the truth. Now, granted, it was obvious they were technologically advanced. Granted, it was obvious they could outfly anything we had in the air. Granted, it was obvious that if push came to shove, we would not have had a snowball's chance in hell. But those things, at least on the surface, never happened. Now, yes, there were military encounters. There were shots fired. Yes, we shot at them. And yes, we had much more than the records will ever show. A shitload of jets knocked down, pilots died, and it was hushed up. But on the whole, they have never demonstrated antagonism, with the possible exception of the nuclear base overflights. Okay? They went in on at least 3 occasions and shut down our nuclear deterrent force. They knocked our missiles right offline. In other words, they were telling us that, look, if we want, we can basically knock you right out of the game. And they did it in Russia, in the former Soviet Union. They did it there. So, what's the bottom line? If the military, the intelligence people, and overall our government, in fact, was confronted with something that terrified them to no end, knowing that if the public knew it, they would be terrified. You're damn right, they covered it up. And even today, okay, we all think disclosure is coming. You know, I was talking to Gary yesterday, briefly, and I said to him, you know who Christopher Mellon is, right? And Gary said, oh, yeah, I've seen that guy. I said, well, he's a former undersecretary of state for intelligence matters for the military. Yeah, this guy was in the stratosphere at one point. just came out, and I'm paraphrasing what he said, but he said basically the only thing that makes any sense is that they're from somewhere else. Well, no shit. I knew that 30 plus years ago. How did I know that? Well, not only did I have my own sightings, okay, which proves nothing. All you got is my word for it. But I broke two of the biggest stories in the early 90s, okay, in the UFO field on national television, NBC, CNN. I broke the STS-48 story where the space shuttle encountered unknown objects, bogies, okay,
Yeah.
rising above the limb of the earth. I broke the Soviet Union's Phobos 2 story where the Russians sent a probe to Mars. The Mars probe photographed something that was extraordinary, okay? And I was told this by representatives of Glav Cosmos. And then this thing rammed their probe. You're damn right they're from somewhere else. No shit. So the fact that here we are on the cusp of 2023 and these assholes are still dithering around with it without an official public announcement tells me, and I've been doing this a long goddamn time, it tells me that they're still not ready to come clean. And there can only be, in my military mind, one reason for that. They know something. They're terrified that we're going to know. Okay, Gary, ran off.
Well, I got to tell you, one of the things that I've always considered with what you're saying is one of the things they're afraid of is just how colluded they are in all of it. And they don't want the government to look that bad, and it's going to look bad. If they were to give up all the information about what happened, it would make our government look really fucking bad. And I think they're afraid of that.
Well, they'd have to explain goddamn near 75 years of bald face lying through their teeth about this, and the dozens, if not hundreds, of people they ruined their lives.
Exactly.
People like airline pilots, military pilots, people
through
like
their collusion, they destroyed
Sixpack.
lives. Exactly. And if they expose all that information, it's going to blow back on them. Specifically, it's going to blow back on the U.S. Air Force and the CIA.
Look, right there, buddy. You said it right there. The U.S. Air Force, the Navy, has been the only guys coming clean, okay? To this point.
Right here, our show has been very forward on that. You and I both have been saying the U.S. Navy is doing this almost in spite of the fucking Air Force.
The Air Force has yet to make a public announcement about any of it. Now, I told you before why that probably is. But back in about 51, 52, just a few short years after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, okay, here we are now already in another fucking war in Korea, okay? American boys are dying for what? For nothing. We weren't allowed to goddamn win that war, which incidentally splashed over so many times since then. When's the last time we actually won a war? Okay? When is the last goddamn time? Well, the Navy secretary was on a fact-finding mission and an inspection out in Hawaii, okay, just a few short years after the Pearl Harbor debacle. He's flying back into Conus, all right? His aircraft is buzzed by a UFO. Freaked him out, freaked out the pilot, the crew. Everybody saw the damn thing. He gets back to D.C. First thing he does, he calls the Secretary of the Air Force to tell him what happened. And he said, basically, what in the hell do you guys have on this? I want to see it. And the Secretary of the Air Force told the Secretary of the Navy, Mr. Secretary, you don't have a need to know. Well, God damn. You couldn't have insulted that man any more than saying that to him. Now, Gary will basically back me on this. There's nobody in the world that has a better intelligence agency service than the Navy. It was the Navy that broke the Japanese code along with civilian code breakers, okay? It was the Navy that took that code and kicked the shit out of the Imperial Japanese fleet only 6 months after Pearl Harbor in the Battle of Midway because of their intelligence service. Well, I am convinced, beyond any doubt, the Navy began their own top secret covert investigation at the behest of the Secretary into the UFO phenomena. They never talked about it ever, but I am convinced they had to be on top of this. And here we are all these years later, and the Navy says, yeah, well, you know, yeah, it happened back in 2004. Yeah, we were off the coast of San Diego. We were down and blah, blah, blah. And hey, our fighter pilots, our super, Hornets encountered these things. And Jesus Christ, they outflew everything we had. But yeah, they're there. Here are the videos. And hey, what did the Air Force do? Not one damn thing. They never as much as acknowledged this press conference. So yeah.
Here's the Air Force. This is the Air Force. This
I
is the Air
know
Force.
nothing. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
Yeah, I got to tell you,
have a
man.
super chat.
I have no doubts. Yep, I saw that, Christian. Good to see you. Thank you so much for the $10 Canadian. These are Canadian pesos for a great crew. Cheers. Thank you, Christian. For you, I give you this wonderful little tidbit. I made just for Don
stories
Ecker.
I could tell him about how cool Nam is.
You know, there's lots of things you expect in war. Carnage, the sleepless nights. But what they don't prepare you for is the incessant use of Fortunate Son.
I'll never get tired of that video.
We have a super sticker from Darius Munchausen. It's the peer offering coffee.
Oh, well, thank you. For you, you get this one, Darius, and thank you for the $4.
Surely you can't be serious.
Yeah. So, aren't there multiple species of it? Yeah, we've talked about that on the show before. The reptilians, the grays. What are the angelic ones called?
But Jeebus, they probably don't have a sole diet of rice.
Well, the reptilians, because there's that connection. I watched it on Ancient Aliens, and they were talking about how in China they had the dragon, as part of the mythos, and that they believe, ancient alien theorists believe that it was some sort of reptilian ship, and that there were reptilians.
Hey, look, back in the very, very early days of UFO magazine, this may have even been, and I'd have to check with my lovely wife, Vicky, it might have been either issue number 2 or 3. We did a big spread on intelligent reptilians.
I'm sorry.
What was that,
Martin.
smart ass?
Martin
What did
said,
he say?
Martin said, phrasing. Big spread.
Big spread on what might have happened if the Chicxulub asteroid had not impacted Earth. In other words, if the dinosaurs had not been wiped out 65 million years ago, would any of them very likely become not only intelligent, because they were intelligent, but sentient? All right. And, now by God that I'm thinking about it, I'm going to have to dig that issue out.
Well,
but
wasn't
it made
that
a hell of a
Mario
case.
Brothers said?
Fuck you, Gary. It made a hell of a case, okay, for the idea of sentient, okay, dinosaur sapiens, if you will, and what might have happened. So, I've always looked at these reptilian stories, okay, kind of 50% with a jaundiced eye, and then 50%, that's interesting. We had a lady in the UFO field 25, 30 years ago. Pamela Stonebrook was her name. And she never really made a huge splash like Bob Lazar, for example. But she claimed that she had an ongoing relationship with a reptilian alien, okay? And she was very forthright about it. He was a great, great stud in bed, according to her. And, there was part of me that thought, boy, she could really benefit from some counseling. But on the other hand, who the hell knows? Maybe there really was something there. So I don't know. It's just another little facet, Gary, in the big city with over 8 million stories. That was one.
Right.
By the way, that's a reference for all you folk that came after the baby boomer generation. There used to be a TV show on back in the early 50s called The Naked City.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. A lot of big names.
And it was
on there.
Yeah, it was cop. It was a cop, kind of a cop show. This took
Procedural,
place in
yeah.
New York. And every week you'd have a crime, and you'd have the relentless NYPD detectives out trying to solve it. And that's where they would say, and this was just one of those 8 million stories.
And wasn't there also a movie called The Naked City that it was inspired by, or was inspired by The Naked City?
I'm
going to look it up real quick, because for some reason my memory.
You see, when yesterday, when we were talking about, well, what do you want to talk about on UFO Wednesday?
Yep, Naked City was a 1948 film.
I said, let's do a stream of consciousness show. It's the end of the year. What the hell?
And you and I are good at it. You and I enjoy doing this, just flowing with it. But I just looked it up, and yes, it was The Naked City came out in 1948, and it did win an Academy Award for Best Film Editing, Best Cinematography, and it was shot in black and white. And I'm looking to see who starred in it, and I'm not seeing any names yet. Let me go. Howard Duff was in it. Barry Fitzgerald was in it. Oh, he was the typical Hollywood Irishman. Everybody talk like this. Oh, isn't it great? Isn't it great? He did that typical Limerick accent. Let's see, who else was in it? Don Taylor, Barry Fitzgerald, and Howard Duff were the stars. So it was actually a movie before it became the series. And I think the series is great because I've watched it. It's really good. It's not like NYPD Blue or any of those. It's more of an anthology series. because you meet different cop each week, different story, different investigation, different borough. You know, good stuff, man. Good stuff. Glad you brought that up. Love that show. Now I'm gonna have to watch it again. Yeah, I know it's pathetic. I hear something. I gotta watch.
Good luck finding it.
No, dude, I can find it. I'm not saying it's by legal means, but I can find it.
Well, my point was there's just a lot out there that have been lost, especially in those areas.
Of shows or what are we talking about?
Not information. Copies of shows that used to be out there that are no longer out there.
Yeah, it's like one of my favorite things to listen to. Really old copies were Fibber, McGee, and Molly. I got a kick out of listening to those things. My dad would get me to listen to them, and we'd listen to them at the library. And good luck finding copies of that shit today.
Well, speaking of science fiction, back when I was a wee tyke, there used to be a TV show on, and it was in the morning on the daytime, I think. God, I don't remember exactly. It's been so long ago. Called Captain Video and
Captain
his
Video Rangers. Yeah.
Well, even then, they always had when they got into a shootout, they pull out these 6-inch 38 police specials. And even then I wondered, gee, that's weird. Why don't they have ray guns? Ray guns. But, they had a budget of $1.37, so I guess that's why.
Yeah.
You're familiar with Captain Video, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Look, my dad, I was familiar with anything my dad loved. And he would talk about Captain Marvel serials, Captain America, Batman, Superman, all those serials, Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers. He goes, it was really confusing when I was a kid because it's the same actor playing Buck Rogers who's playing Flash Gordon. I said, and he played Tarzan too.
Buster Crab.
Yeah. Buster Crab just sounds like a dirty name, like a porn name.
He was in the
if Buster Crab and Esther Williams made out. I always wondered that.
Buster Crab was on really the.
Gay. Do you know who Esther Williams was?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, baby. Let's see if I can find
Buster Crab. Buster Crab was on the revival of the series of the Buck Rogers series in the 80s.
Yeah, he played
as a
an
guest
officer.
Star. Yeah.
Here she is. Let me share this real quick because she was something else, man. She was a swimming, I think she got her start as a swimmer, right?
Oh yeah. She was a champion.
Yeah, she would do the swimming dancing thing that they would do, choreographed swimming.
She was
oh my gosh, here's a photo of her. Let me look at that. Just a beautiful woman. Share screen and pick a tab. There she is. Boom. That's her.
Oh yeah, she was quite the babe.
Another shot of her here. And here's a video of some swimming. Hold on, let's see. I can't show it for very long because I guarantee you someone will fucking gank it. Nobody wants to fuck up on that one. There she is up in the front. Just, they were like the Follies, but in water.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, she worked with Buster, man. And Buster, he either was really devoted to his wife or was a bit of a cream puff. Because if I was with that chick and she was single, yeah. Esther Williams. You know what? I haven't said hello to anybody yet on the show, so I guess I should take the time to say hi. Of course, Gap After Dark was the first one here. Anima Confisa, love of my life. Penny, Dragon Ruse, D. Bud Martin, Krampus Jeebus. I'm just going to start calling him Jeebus the Cramp. It's like I have
Did you notice did you notice just now his startling intellectual question?
No, look, anybody who mistakes him for being dumb isn't paying attention. I think he's one of the most clever followers of our show. I love interacting.
No matter how much pot he smokes.
Yeah. It's like, I got to tell you, I love Monkey Jeebus. Cool dude. Joe's Atmosphere is here. Parrothead, who had me laughing earlier today with something he posted in the private chat. Alex Moore, Cameron Vale. Cameron Vale sounds like a character from a movie, doesn't it? Like a comedy.
Batman movie.
Yeah, something like that. The Dork Knight, Joseph Dredd, Christian Delorme, Darius Munchausen, and Christopher Moonlight Productions, who had a really good show yesterday.
Monkey Jeebus smokes enough pot that Cheech and Chong tell him to put the bong down.
That's right. Chris actually had the producer of the new Aliens documentary on yesterday. If you guys didn't see it, go check it out. Yesterday's show for Morning Coffee with Chris. Good episode. Very intrigued. And it's really funny. It just sort of happened. He was doing, he got a hold of me last minute. I'm just going to talk about the rest of what's left of Alien. And we'll shoot, because he was doing Stream of Conscious like we're doing today, just having some fun. And all of a sudden, man, that guy shows up in his chat, the producer. He invites him on. You got a whole show. Look at that. Chris, you serendipitous son of a bitch. I love serendipity. One, I love the word. The word itself sounds amazing. And then, of course, what it means, all good. It's all good. I don't know who invented that word, but I would love to go back in time and give him a big old hug. That is a great word. Serendipity, all of it.
With any luck, he may even be salty.
It might be a woman if I get lucky. If I was really lucky. If I was serendipitous, it'd be a woman. I'm going to drown in my coffee, chuckling while drinking. I had to shame Chris. Hold on, put that back. I had to shame Chris to get him on. Oh, you did you? What's the next one? I tagged him on it, and John that took quick action and got him on the stream. So you, John, are the one to thank for that.
Yeah.
Amazing. Tell me, did you get excited?
Oh yeah, I was so excited.
You were so excited.
No, it was cool. I mean, it was
the Festivus miracle.
Thank you, Darius. That was good. So I had my big meeting last night with Bill. I wanted everybody there, but we at least had Chris showed up for it. Danny showed up for it. Anima, of course, was there, and Bill likes Anima. And
that's what the link was posted for.
Yeah. Oh. So we had our big meeting with Bill last night. Bill let me know that the exact numbers vary, but that the average for our shows is between 3,000 and 4,000 views / listens, whether they're watching it on YouTube or on
live,
another.
Right?
Yeah, that's live. With our live shows, all of them, we're averaging that right now. And as we proceed in January,
proceeds.
Yep. So part of our meeting last night was how to proceed with getting everything transferred over to their StreamYard to make sure that it's a transition that goes smoothly and that everybody adheres to the top of the hour, go into an advertisement, and then at the end of the show. He seems to be pretty comfortable with our ending, although I told him I'm going to update it to include the logo. The KGRA. And as you see, I put the KGRA logo up in the upper left for today's show, and it's going to be on here every morning now. I drink my coffee like I relish it.
I got to tell you salty fluid in there, so
It's the salted caramel. Fuck you, John.
See what I brought?
Yeah, someone's gonna have to pee after the show. I woke up this morning. It's so funny. I came out of the room in a rush, and Scott was sitting there getting ready to leave for work. He goes, "Hey, buddy." I said, "Can't talk, gotta pee." I drank too much before bed. It was like I woke up with a cannonball in my bladder. I was like, Jesus Christ, run. Oh, man. Serendipity, noun, faculty of making happy and unexpected discoveries. Quote, a rare word before 20th century, coined by Horace Walpole in a letter to Horace Mann. What are the odds of them having the same first name? That's really weird. That's serendipitous, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Dated January 28th, 1754. Thanks, Parrot Head. But which apparently was not published until 1833.
One of our grade schools is named after Horace Mann.
Who is he?
Little tidbit. I have no idea. I've always wondered that myself, and I never wondered enough to go look him up.
I know it's difficult, but I'm going to go type it right now. Oh, my God. It's so many letters. Oh, my God. Oh, I finally got through Mann. What a long name. Horace Mann Education Corporation. Who is Horace Mann? Here we go. Horace Mann lived from May 4th. He's a Taurus. 1796 to August 2nd, 1859. Was an American educational reformer, slavery abolitionist, and a Whig politician, known for his commitment to promoting public education. In 1848, after public service and Secretary of Massachusetts State Board of Education, Mann was elected to the United States House of Representatives from 1848 to 1853. From September 1852 to his death, he served as president of Antioch College. No one did more than he to establish the minds of American people on the conception that education should be universal, non-sectarian, free, and that its aim should be social efficiency, civic virtue, and character, rather than mere learning or the advancement of sectarian ends.
God, can we use him now?
Yeah, buddy. Everything he said, I liked.
School named after
him. Yeah, you watch; they'll change it.
No,
if the left gets its hooks in there, they will change that name because he doesn't believe in the things they espouse, and so he's evil. He's evil because he doesn't think that way.
Yeah, socialists and Marxists, they don't like that. No.
Free thinkers, no.
Well, we've already got some of that creeping into the high school. There were some parents calling and complaining because there was no facilities such as a litter box for their other kin children.
Oh, good Lord. So,
yeah.
Once again, in 2022, we had some major things that happened. One was the hearing. From the hearing, we got the Department of Defense announcing the establishment of the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, designed specifically to remove the stigma of reporting contact, whether it's...
Well, here's the problem, Gary, as I see it, all right?
Wait. The problem with what? The problem with what?
UFOs. Obviously.
Oh, with UFOs in general.
What are we talking about?
Well, I wasn't sure if you're going to talk about the AAO, whatever that organization is called. It's called the ADARO. That's it. So you're just talking about you're just talking about UFO in general. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And Tracy Torme, for example, has a close relationship with Luis Elizondo. Luis Elizondo has been basically the point man, supposedly, for getting this information out to the public, disclosure ad nauseum. And I had a very simple question. about all of that. I said, look, yeah, the stuff that's happening now is basically interesting, but this is not anywhere near either the start or the finish of it all.
Oh,
Let's talk about some cases that are in the public venue that were truly stupendous. And what am I talking about? Okay, obviously, the 1952 overflights. Okay, everybody knows the Pentagon's explanation that some of this may have been weather inversion showing up on their radar scopes is pure bullshit. Let's talk about UFO incursions into nuclear weapons storage depots where they affected the ordnance in the ground. Okay? Documented, proven, no bullshit about it. It happened. Nobody ever mentions that. Let's talk about things like STS-48, where the space shuttle encountered these things in orbit. Today, if you go up to the live stream for the International Space Station, often something unknown will come into view, looks like a large, huge vehicle of some kind. Suddenly, what happens? The video stream goes out. What's
Right.
NASA say? Oh, we're having technical difficulties.
Yeah, right.
Horseshit.
Yeah.
Horseshit. Okay. These are the things that prove the reality of it, and they're still dinking around with it. It's bullshit. So let's either, not to get crude, but let's either shit or get off the pot. Okay? That's it.
No, I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's like, feeling the pulse of a human body is not invasive, and it's just the tip of the iceberg, because the pulse is just a sign of something else going on. The heart, which is at the center, and we're nowhere near the heart of what's going on. We're just feeling the pulse. That's all we're doing. We're feeling the pulse, and I don't know how terrifying it's going to be when we finally discover everything. And will it happen in our lifetime? I don't know. These covetous, clutching, controlling agencies. I mean, who's going to ever forget that the U.S. Space Force denied, after the Department of Defense and the U.S. Navy said this shit's real? The U.S. Air Force's Space Forces, we don't know anything about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they just look, they're just, what's that saying about lawyers? How do you know if a lawyer is lying? His mouth is moving. It's the same thing with the Air Force. Absolutely. CIA. If they're talking, they're lying.
And they're the agency charged with defending us from such things.
Right.
Did they turn hostile?
God, it's really repugnant. I just finished watching the new season of Jack Ryan, and it shows some of these bureaucratic people. And I'm like, wow. They did a really good nod to Mace Neufeld and got away from that crazy commie shit from season 2. This is a really non-political season that was an absolute nod to the late Mace Neufeld, who made 3 of the best films. I hate shitting on Sum of All Fears, but I don't like Ben Affleck as Jack Ryan at all. No. He's not an everyman. Whereas Alec Baldwin can pull that off, and Harrison Ford is absolutely built a career on being the everyman. He looks like the guy next door, and acts like it. And so that works. And so those 3 first films, Hunt for Red October, Patriot Games, and Clear and Present Danger, are the 3 best Jack Ryan films, even though I hated the fact that they took a direct shot at Ronald Reagan in it by showing the jelly beans on the desk. I don't know if anybody else spotted that, but it was a clear shot at Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
I'm like, stop that shit. Stop it.
Well, you know, when the politics...
Clancy got pissed about that, by the way, if you didn't know.
You know, when politics end up going out the door is the instant bullets start flying. And the problem is the bureaucrats, the majority of them, I'd say 99.95% of them, never had a bullet whiz past their ear. And trust me when I tell you this, the instant that happens, your whole world purview changes. It really does.
No, absolutely. And the police said it best. Poets, priests, and politicians have words to thank for their positions. I'm a big police fan. Da-da-da-da got made fun of, but the fact is it's a great song. It is a great statement. And politicians, man. And yes, the minute politicians stop talking is when bullets start flying.
Yep.
And it's sad but true, and politicians tend to be so full of shit. Krampus, we are going to get to, in fact, I'm going to message Tracy today, Torme, about coming back on for the new year. I think it'd be fun to have him. Darius, you are reaching with just the tip, man. But now that you reached, you can have the tip, just the tip. Don't you fucking...
I was going to say something, but I won't.
I saw John shake his head. You judge me. So if a lawyer, what is this? So if a lawyer uses sign language, he's telling the truth. I think in the history of this show, this is the first time I'm going to say this. Shut up, Dragon Ruse.
My stepson is a lawyer. He's a
really?
lawyer. Oh, yeah. He's a
What
lawyer.
kind? What kind?
Mostly estate law.
You say lawyer, so I'm assuming East Coast.
No, he's out here.
Oh, out in Cali? Okay.
He's a 1989 graduate of the military academy at West Point. Okay. Went in originally in the medical corps, okay, administrator. Then he went to law school and he ended up in the JAG Corps. And I think, unfortunately,
he was a jag off.
Unfortunately, he never took a trip to the sandbox. I think he would have, had a different outlook on a lot of things had he have done that. But the one thing about JAG that I resented greatly, okay, for whatever it's worth. Do you remember back in the old bummer days when we were over there in the shit in places like Iraq and Afghanistan? We would have sniper teams out in the field, all right, to ding the assholes, but they would have to radio back and to get, and I'm just going to say it, some fucking lawyer to sign off on it. Oh,
ROE, man.
God,
ROE is ridiculous. It's always been ridiculous. It's always been ridiculous. The minute you, if you're in the military, a certain amount of trust should be given to the soldier to recognize dealing with an enemy combatant. They should have the automatic right of rules of engagement to engage with the enemy and not have to worry about having JAG go after them later.
Yeah.
Lawyers have been the cause, and people go, yeah, but without lawyers, fuck you. Lawyers have caused more problems than problems solved. They've caused more problems than problems solved. That's all I got to say about a lawyer.
Before any of them could have a say about any of it, They should do a combat tour. Be forced to do a combat tour.
Find out what it's like. You got it.
Shakespeare said it best.
What's that?
Shakespeare said it best. First, we kill all the lawyers.
Well, that's communists, actively kill lawyers and teachers when they take over.
And priests and ministers.
Any religion, yeah. They kill anybody who gives the idea of free thought. They kill them. They take them out and execute them. Whenever you see socialism and communism take over, expect a lot of deaths. Because they're not.
That was part of the bullshit about Vietnam. Everybody said they didn't have any purges after we left. Okay,
that's a lie.
Very, very little. It's totally a lie.
Yeah, it's a total fucking lie.
Oh yeah,
millions killed in Cambodia, millions killed in Vietnam.
Who the hell talks about Cambodia? Did you ever hear the only one leftist anti-war activist that ever spoke out about Cambodia was God now. Yeah, I just had her name on the tip of my tongue. Joan Baez.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Joan.
Joan Baez did talk about that, but people like Fonda and those other commies.
No, they support the Khmer Rouge.
Not a word.
Because they supported the Khmer Rouge. And the Khmer Rouge.
My wife's laughing at me. My wife's in the kitchen laughing at me. She said that phrase you use. Phrasing, Martine.
Hey,
phrasing.
Tell Vicky. It doesn't sound like she's cooking because I don't hear any banging pots and pans.
Yeah, Gary says it doesn't sound like you're cooking. He doesn't hear any banging pots and pans.
Doing dishes, okay. I swear to God, we were like doing a show and just hear clang, clang,
see that?
Bang.
See that?
Yeah.
I'm no commie slut. I wash dishes. See? And besides, these days it would be commie skank. Okay.
Commie skank. Vicky's the best, man.
Yeah, but there was
she's out here to keep me honest.
When Uncle Ho took over in Vietnam, there certainly were purges because anybody that had anything to do with the United States or with being in the South Vietnamese army was eliminated.
Well, very, very few people even acknowledge that after the communists took over in Hanoi, the first thing they did was they killed every Catholic priest they could lay their hands on, and tens of thousands of Northerners walked down into South Vietnam. You had a ton of previously, Northern Vietnamese that got the hell out of there when the commies took over. They were brutal, very, very brutal.
Yeah. Anywhere you've seen communism take over, you will also see a record of large numbers of people eliminated. And we're talking thousands to millions. Communist Russia was notorious for killing Catholics, Jews, anybody that they saw as a threat. One of the reasons why I love Ayn Rand so much is because she firsthand saw what communism did to her father. Her father had built a business with his bare hands, and it became successful. And then communism came in. They took everything from him, and they fled Russia to America. And she's been treated. The people that hate her don't even know what she fucking says. They don't even know what she said. They just hate her because she represents something they're against. They don't know her information. They don't know her story. It's like, if you want to hate somebody, you better fucking know their story. I hate a lot of historical figures. I also know their fucking stories, and I know why I fucking hate them. I hate Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Why do I hate him? Because that motherfucker was a democratically elected socialist, and he absolutely took American citizens and put them in camps because of their eyes and the color of their skins.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Nobody except perhaps George Takei even mentions that.
Even though he was in one of those fucking camps.
Yeah. Yeah, he was.
He's got a convenient memory. Also, just a reminder, George Takei was a day worker on Star Trek. He was not a major member of the cast. Nichelle Nichols, Jimmy Doohan was a little different because he was personal friends with Gene Roddenberry. But Nichelle Nichols and Chekhov and George Takei were all 3 day workers, which is why you don't see them in every episode, because once they get their hours, they can't be in anymore. They're only allowed to work so many hours on a show. And so when they went to Keith and I have talked ad nauseum about this shit. What pissed me off about them, including even Nichelle, who I love, they would talk shit about Shatner at these conventions. And Shatner wasn't there to defend himself. Why? Because he was a working fucking full-time father, ex-husband. He made sure that 90% of his income went to his family. He lived in a fucking pickup truck with a camper shell and lived off the land. Top of the hour. So I guess it's time for us to do our little fake promo, which is actually right now just, where's it at? There it is.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the middle of the film.
There we go. Starting next week, we're going to start showing the KGRA promos, which I do have, and I'm going to get them queued up to where we can actually show them during the shows.
Damn, this is like I almost came back home. Holy shit.
Yeah. Didn't you used to work for KGRA?
They basically allowed me to host Dark Matters Radio, which I might add at the time, and I'm going to give a little self-serving information.
No way.
One of their most popular shows. DMR.
No
Oh
way.
God, Don's coming on. Don's coming on.
Well, hey, Danny, if you're watching right now, Josh Becker is calling me during his show for some reason, and I assume it's about you.
Does he want to go to Canada?
I love Josh. I do love him, but that really freaked me out. I'm like, he just said that to 2 military veterans who volunteered to serve during war. You volunteered for Vietnam, and I volunteered knowing we were going into the Gulf. In fact, from basic training, I said, send me. Yeah, send me. I don't care. Because they threatened us. And I'm like, you're not threatening me. You're giving me what I want. Send me.
Yeah, I'll never forget when I was in basic training at Fort Dix. I guess it was week number 6, 7, or 8, something like that. They called you in and asked you, well, now you're about ready to go to AIT. Where would you like to be stationed? And I would tell them Vietnam. And I'll never forget this one clerk looked like, this motherfucker is crazy.
Yeah, you would never want to ask somebody like me that question. My answer would be, I hear there's a lot of gay stuff in the Aleutians. Maybe there. Are you gay? No, but my boyfriend is. Oh my God. Gay humor. Fuck yeah. Let's see. Josh and Don, best friends forever. Yeah. I was so amused after the show. I got messages from Don and from Josh I don't ever want to be on a show with that guy again. And I was like, yeah, I think the feeling was clearly mutual. And Don was irritated with me because I just took over the show and I wanted to end it. Because I was like, oh my God. Like, well, he said that I'll never know. You're talking to two fucking military vets. He gets in his head. Josh will get in his head. And that's all he's thinking about is what's going on in his head rather than what's going on around him. And you're sitting in a room with two military veterans who volunteered for war, and you go, I'd go to Canada. I'm like, why the fuck would you say that to us? Why?
I could give you my readout on it, but I'm not gonna. Okay, because I hesitate to become as profane as I could become if I got into that, and I can't
imagine you profane. I can't imagine. I got to tell you something about my brother Steven. My brother Steven did a single tour in Vietnam, got back, and he was given this easiest fucking duty in the world. He was going to be a posted guard at the fucking Pentagon. And what does he do? He takes off with his best friend and goes AWOL. He's already done his fucking tour. There's nothing left but processing out. And he goes AWOL, gets busted on a traffic violation in Boston. And he's like, well, maybe we'll get in there, pay our ticket, and then we can head to Canada. I'm like, what? My dad couldn't understand. Like, what? You've already got the hard part over with. What the fuck? So he shows up to pay his ticket, and guess who's waiting for him? SPs. They were waiting for him in court.
Special pricks?
Yep. Marines don't have their own MPs. They use naval SPs. So here's the fun part of this story. My brother spent the rest of his fucking military career at Quantico in the brig and processed out from there. And thanks to my dad fighting for him, saying, look, this guy served honorably in combat. And what was wrong with PTSD is what led him to do what he did. And so dad got him his honorable discharge. He was given what was referred to, and I'm sure you've heard this before, less than honorable discharge. Not dishonorable, but less than honorable. And my dad got that upgraded to where it belonged because my brother is a combat veteran and served honorably until afterward it got stupid. I don't know what the fuck got into his head, man. It's like you finished the hardest fucking part, Steve. The rest of it is just do your fucking duty and get the fuck out. I love my brother Steve, by the way. But you did two tours, right?
Yeah. I had a total of between Vietnam and Okinawa. I had a total of 26 months in Southeast Asia, and when I was wounded, almost not quite 6 months in military hospitals. So yeah, it all counted on 20 years if I would have stuck. But I said, I'm going home now.
I'm done. It's like everybody's in the office and Don's like, okay, I'm out of here. Like, wait, aren't you going to retire? Nah, there's nothing to do.
Yeah, I got girls to meet. I've got a lot of beer to drink. I got things to do. So
yeah, turn to somebody in the office you didn't like, going, yeah, I'm going to go. Wait a minute, I'm done killing commies unless you're a commie. Are you a commie? No. Then I'm done killing commies. Oh man, when I was in, I saw some real pieces of shit. I remember. Before we even went to AIT, man, the ground war was escalating in the Middle East. And all of a sudden, all these kids who had signed up for college were like, oh, I want to get a different MOS. I want to get, and all of a sudden they're like calling home for favors. Some of the rich kids calling home to get favors done for them. Two of the guys in my unit switched MOSs. So, and all of them, both their MOSs were basically secretarial. They worked in an office. I'm like, you guys are pussies.
Well, back in the day, we referred to them as Remington Raiders.
Yep.
Remington typewriters for
Remington.
all you computer geeks.
Remington.
Oh, by the way, today, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to have a very special, dangerous military nerd, a buddy of mine, and Gary hasn't met him yet. Commander Cobra is his nom de plume, was a KGRA host that had a radio show called Task Force Griffin. He's a military contractor, former Air Force pilot, and Coastie pilot. He's even done a movie, Bad Boys 2, where he was driving a speedboat. He's a neat dude, and he lives up in the great Northeast. As a matter of fact, the other day I called him up to wish him a Merry Christmas. He never answered his phone. He had pipes in his not his bathroom, his basement bust, and he had a flood down there that he was taking care of. But I talked to him a couple of days ago, told him about DMN, and he said, oh, yeah, I'd love to do that. So he's got a number of topics he made me promise we could discuss. And I said, absolutely. But he said, here's the thing. He said, I'm not a nerd because nerds are much more intelligent about things. I'm a geek. So refer to me as a dangerous military geek. And I said, no sweat, Cobra. Now, Commander Cobra, and since I've known him, I've referred to him as Charlie Deuce. If you were in the military, you know why. The military phonetic alphabet, A, B, C, C is Charlie, and Charlie didn't make it, so Charlie Deuce, or just Deuce. So, Gary, you're now fully up to speed.
I am Golf Kilo. Gerry Kissell, yeah. I like military phonetics there, because I like the slang ones in particular, because I got in trouble for saying, I didn't actually get in trouble. I could have gotten in trouble if they knew who I was. And I called something over radio a clusterfuck or a Charlie Foxtrot. And I got this response from somebody on the radio that was clearly part of the military that basically asked me the same question that was asked of Han Solo in Star Wars. Who is this? What's your operating number? And I realized, you don't know who this is. And I just got back on, keyed the mic, and I said, this is Charlie Foxtrot out. I hung up, pulled the antenna down, and left. I'm like, they will never fucking find me. And so when I created that company with John Del Vecchio and Dale Dye and Doug and Tom Waltz from IDW, all of us were part of the company. And I named the company. I named it Charlie Foxtrot Entertainment because I said, if we ever win an award, and we won a couple of awards, somebody non-military has to say, the award goes to Charlie Foxtrot. And every military veteran hears it will laugh because that civilian has no idea they just said clusterfuck. Clusterfuck Entertainment. Love that shit.
Like Whiskey Tango Foxtrot.
Yeah, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. It's like Gary, they call him Gary the douche. Shut up, Krampus. Hey, I see Zax is here. Who else jumped in? Anybody else? Zax. Nope, that's it. Quiet show today. Quiet audience,
thanks,
I should say.
Thanks, sweetheart. My wife's bringing me some hot coffee. Here,
what about me? Do I get any, Vicky?
Gary wants to know if he's going to get any. You got to come by and pick it up, shitbird.
That's too long of a trip.
We have more coffee bean
Yeah. Vicky says, well, you'd love the weather. Okay. The weather's been not too bad, and we've got better coffee beans here. So it's up to you.
It's going to be 64 here tomorrow. So,
oh, we had rain last night. One of my buddies, he's a retired cop back in New York. He's got a KGRA show. As a matter of fact, a couple of them. One is iDetective, and he's also on the MUFON show. So Skywatcher Bill, sent me a note yesterday, and he said, boy, Toperno's getting smashed. And I said, smashed? What, he's drunk? No, the snow. I said, Bill, that's not what you say. Smashed is not the right word. But yeah, okay, that's cool. And boy, they did too. They did.
Oh, Zachariah 315 is here. Hi, Zachariah. And Dragoners, I was teasing you earlier. I love you, man. Frisky Dingo, another show that I got to go back and revisit that show sometime, John. We should probably sit down and talk about that show.
I told you, but you said no.
That's because it was you. It needs to come from me. Then it's okay. No, we do need to go back. Jeebus also brought it up too. I would like to spend some time and go back and revisit Frisky Dingo, because if it weren't for Frisky Dingo, we wouldn't have Archer.
Gary?
Yeah.
You're a Mike Foxtrot.
Motherfucker? Yeah, it's true. And look at Martine learning military phonetics. It's so cute.
We all have that, right?
What?
Military phonetics.
Well, I mean, non-military use it too. Sure, they can learn it. Yeah.
All military has.
It's just not as cool. This is my weapon. This is my gun. This is for killing. This is for fun. I did that, by the way, Don, during live fire training. It was at night. We were doing night fire. First chance you ever get to see tracers, and it's fucking amazing to watch. And we're
red tracers, scary shit.
It was something
green
else,
tracers. Man. Green tracers are scarier.
I've never seen green. I've never seen green. I've only seen the orange red ones.
I've seen the green ones. Oh yeah.
Well, what is that?
Commie shit.
Oh, commie. Yeah, I've never seen that come at me. So during the night fire, nobody can fucking see. You're walking around behind there, hanging out with your buddies, and I could do 3 drill sergeants' voices. I can do great impersonations of 3 of the drill instructors during our training. And I would yell at guys to drop and beat their faces. I had one guy running around with his hand on his junk and his hand on his rifle, walking around selling, this is my... the actual drill sergeant's like, what the fuck are you doing? And he goes, well, you told me. He's like, no, I didn't. They were trying to figure out who the fuck was doing this. I was just walking around punishing people, pretending to be a drill sergeant because nobody could see. It was so fucking dark. And I'm like, I knew I could get away with it, and I did. It was funny. Son, beat your face.
Well, seeing a tracer come out of a 16 is one thing.
Yeah.
Seeing it come out of a Mod Deuce, now that's a horse of a different color.
Yeah. Hell, even watching M60s fire in saws when it's like every 3rd to 4th round is a fucking tracer. It's just incredible to watch. It really is.
We didn't have a saw then.
Yeah, saw was the replacement for the M60. I don't think it's as good a weapon, clearly, because it's still firing a 223. It's a louder weapon because it's mechanical. But I do love what the bag is called, the ammo bag. It's called a nut sack. Mm-hmm. It's like, Hey, man, toss me another nutsack. You want mine or the one with the ammo in it? Billie Eilish with blonde hair is perfect for making backdoor mags memes. You know what? I bet you're right. Yeah, very similar. Mags is gorgeous, so just be nice to her, Krampus. She deserves it. She's awesome. We all love her. I don't know if you've ever met her, Don, but she's something else.
No.
She is something else.
Sweetheart.
Yeah, she's just such a positive person in the universe. And it's like, I know I can be like a fucking dick, you know. She's like the opposite of that all the time. And she's just a delightful person.
Maybe
And,
you could take some lessons from her.
yeah, maybe. But yeah, Jeebus was fucking relentless with the fucking videos of her and me today. He had me as this fat naked guy dancing around in one of the videos. It's this software called what the hell is it called, John?
Reface.
My favorite one that he keeps doing is the movie Brokeback Mountain, putting Keith on one guy and putting me on the other one. It's just like, God almighty, it's so bad. My favorite one is the one I did. I because I love Beetlejuice, so I put me on Beetlejuice. I thought that was funny. That's why I only do one show a week. Anyway, but Billie Eilish, yeah, she's got the build for it. Yeah. And I always joke with Mags that she looks like the girl from The Bad or The Good Place. What's her name? Kristen Bell.
Yeah.
And so I tease her about it because Kristen Bell's a cute little thing, and so is her. You know, is she? So is her. My grandma is okay, good.
Do you
I'm
know
out of
who
coffee.
Mark D'Antonio is?
I do know that name. Where do I know that name from? You're going to tell me. Go ahead.
Well, he's a buddy of mine. He's an astronomer. And he's got a show on KGRA. Been there for years. Got an observatory in Arizona. He runs it. It's remote controlled out of Connecticut. And anyway, Mark did consulting for the U.S. Navy. You'll sometimes catch him on shows like Ancient Aliens and those history shows. He's the videographer for the MUFON organization. He's he when people come in with photographs, videos, stuff of unknown anomalies, he'll examine it, make a determination: is this likely real or not? Is there another explanation? I mean, that's the kind of stuff he does, right? So we're talking one day, and I was curious about when he was consulting for the Navy, which meant he had to have a top security clearance. All right. He knew a lot of people high up in the Navy, and whatever it was he was doing on board naval vessels, he was on a couple of nuclear subs. Now, one day they're out doing whatever the hell Navy nuclear subs do, and suddenly the sonar man sat straight up in his chair. Mark was in that space where the guy was, and he was tracking something underwater. And he calls the officer of the day. Sir, I found another one. Another one what?
USO.
A fast walker is what they called it. Going in excess of 150 knots plus through the water.
Wow, that's impressive without
150
cavitation.
knots. Exactly. Now, what does that tell you? Are they real or not? So, Mark later said, he said the officer of the day, or the officer of the deck, whatever that naval designation is, told him to just log it and forget about it.
Deck officer.
Log it.
Navy.
Yeah, and forget about it. So Mark was back at the Pentagon once again, doing whatever it was he was doing there. And he was talking to this admiral that he knew. And he asked him, he said, Admiral, he said, what's the story with fast walkers? And he said that guy couldn't get him out of the office quick enough. He said, oh, well, that's classified. I can't talk about it. So there you go.
Well, I sent a message, by the way, to
Since
Bill.
this is a UFO show, I just thought we ought to get back to UFOs for a minute. See how that works, Gary?
Nobody cares. Nobody cares, Todd. Nobody cares what we talk about. Hey, Keely Chow. What's going on? I'll tell you. Monkey Jeebus is holding us hostage. He has threatened to kill a kitten if we end the show. We haven't seen the kitten, but he tends to not be full of shit, so we believe him.
Besides, who knows what Jeebus does when he's high?
Yeah, and then there's the whole Darius Munchausen conspiracy theory. So, Alex Moore, welcome to the show, my friend. And Keely, by the way, welcome to the show. Good to see you. What does he say? What a coincidence. Backdoor Gary is an astrometer. It reminds me of, just saying that, just for some reason triggered a memory. When I worked in nursing and I saw a CNA grab the wrong thermometer to go put into somebody's fucking mouth. And I went, whoa, where are you going with that? And she says, I'm taking this to do an oral. No, do not do that. And she goes, why? I said, that's a rectal thermometer. She goes, no, it's not. And she got into this argument with me, and I had to pull the administrator in going, please explain to this woman why she should never be allowed to touch another patient. Going to put a rectal thermometer in somebody's mouth. I'll never forget that.
Back in the day, we used to have posters all over the military barracks, and it said something to the effect of, we're striving for 0 defects.
0 defects. Yes. We had something akin to that. Yeah. I liked even older ones, like loose lip sink ships. My favorite was
What'd you think of Greyhound? What'd you think of Greyhound?
Oh, the movie?
Yeah.
Didn't watch it.
What?
I didn't watch it. I know my boss worked on it. For some reason, I don't know what it is. Don't get me wrong. Tom Hanks, I can watch him in some films. That one, I didn't like the trailer with him. I didn't see him in that character, and I had problems with it. So just for the casting. And so I just never watched it. And I should. Was it good?
Oh, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I've got a love-hate relationship with Hanks, but I watched it primarily because after my dad got thrown out of the Pennsylvania Guard right after Pearl Harbor, he was too young. Okay, my grandma went down and ratted him out. All right, had just turned 16. He lied to get into the Guard, said he was 18. She went down, ratted him out. So what does he do? He turns around and joins the Merchant Marine until he was 18. He was on 2 vessels that got sunk. One was sunk up around Murmansk. They were taking a convoy from Great Britain up to Russia, to the USSR, because, of course, the Russians were in a life and death knife fight with the Nazis. they needed the stuff that they were taking up, you know, like spam. So, can you imagine that? Waiting for a load of spam to arrive. But they were on two ships that went down. And he ended up spending almost 3 months in a Russian field hospital. He should have froze to death, but he didn't. And anyway, I watched it primarily for that, to honor him, even though he and I could barely stand each other. So that's my story. I'm sticking with it, and there it is.
All I can say about Greyhound is it didn't suck.
And I never cry when I see a Nazi get it in the neck in a movie. I never cry.
It's usually a cheering
Me either. Here, I want to show you this. I was working for Tom Hanks when I made this, and I also said something that apparently got back to him, what I said. But Adventures in Bad Film Direction, the Steven Spielberg edition, Part 1A, Ignoring Your Military Advisor. This is nice. Look at this, silhouettes. Look at that. Look how close they are in formation, walking through German-occupied France, talking full voice.
One MG-42 would have taken the whole patrol out.
And then he goes, "Hey, guys, stop saluting the captain." Captain. You'll get him shot by a sniper, but look at the two fucking white bars on his helmet. Right there. Fuck. Steven Spielberg is a fucking idiot. That's all I got to say about him. He's been very lucky, very blessed, and he's shown great skill in some regards. But the best stuff he's ever done is when he was being governed. Jaws. He was being governed when he made Jaws. He was being governed when he made Raiders of the Lost Ark. You know, on his own, if he doesn't know the materials, he wouldn't know irony if it came up and bit him on the dick. Him and
you know what kind of sidearm Harrison Ford was packing in Raiders
he had
of the Lost Ark?
Bulldog, wasn't it?
No.
It was either a Webley or a Bulldog.
No.
The revolver.
Smith & Wesson model 1917. 45 ACP.
I didn't even recognize that. It's a good
know
pistol.
Do you know what the model 1917 was? You don't? Okay, well, let me tell you. When we got involved in World War I, when that asshole socialist president that we had then,
Woodrow Wilson,
decided to declare war on the Imperial German government, which I got to admit they deserved it. Okay, but we had an army which was one of the smallest armies in any major power on planet Earth. Okay. And we went from a few tens of thousands, and I'm talking total military force, tens of thousands, to over 1 million men in the first year. Now, what did that mean? That meant that we didn't have any machine guns at the time, no machine guns, no armored vehicles, no Air Force, and God knows, not enough rifles to equip more than a couple of 100,000 people, but we had over 1 million. So here are guys going off to makeshift basic training companies, training with broomsticks. Now, back in those days, we still had a horse cavalry. Horse cavalrymen need sidearms, and NCOs, officers, need sidearms, but we didn't have enough Model 1911s. And they were difficult to create. They had a lot of machining. So the War Department went to Smith & Wesson and Colt and said, look, we do have a lot of 45 ACP ammunition. We need a revolver that will handle that. So it just so happened Smith & Wesson made a triple lock 44 caliber special revolver Colt had made a 45 caliber, and I'm talking full bore 45 caliber revolver in 1909. They were able to change these around, change some of the dimensions to handle 45 ACP. But the 45 ACP cartridge does not have a rim, which a revolver needs to kick the empties out. So somebody came up with the idea of what was called a half moon clip. And it worked. It would hold 3 rounds of 45 ACP. You'd have 2 of those, throw it in the cylinder, close the cylinder up, you had 6 shots. And then when you were done, it would kick them all out. Well, this was such a dandy handgun that they used them literally up through World War II, and they worked. Well, that's what Harrison Ford had in Raiders of the Lost Ark, a World War I Smith & Wesson model 1917. And that's just a little trivia for you, Gary. I didn't want radio's deadliest enemy to kick in, which is
Silence. Which is, to me, it's dead air in here is no different than sitting on the toilet waiting for something to happen.
I'd love to have one of those revolvers. I really would.
I loved it when he, he's getting ready to go deal with some stuff, and what's his name? His friend, the professor, the head of the curator of the college, is standing. He's Denholm Elliott, his character, I forget his name, but anyway, he's like, he says, it's like something you've never gone after before, and he starts getting misty-eyed and like he's looking off in the distance, and Harrison Ford's like, well, you know what a cautious guy I am, tosses that fucking pistol into the fucking suitcase, and it lands with a thump, like weight to it. I just love that shit. And, but there's another one, of course, we've heard the complaints over the years, or reported about the complaints over the years from the swordsman that Indiana Jones was supposed to fight, but Harrison Ford had dysentery. Everybody had dysentery, but he got it apparently worse than anybody. And so he just turned to Steven, and after they kind of did one shot, and he's like, look, man, can I just shoot the fucker? Quote, unquote, that's what he said. Can I just shoot the fucker? And so that's what they did, and it's one of the greatest moments in cinematic history of this guy, and Indiana Jones like looking like shit, his hat's folded upward, he just pulls the gun out and shoots the guy. I'm like, yeah, what a great moment. I disliked it when they had him go to try to do that, and it's a joke on itself. It's meme humor, that whole meta humor, where he goes in the sequel, which is actually supposed to be a prequel, goes to pull the gun on the 2 swordsmen, and he doesn't have his gun, and he goes, ugh. I hated that scene. I fucking hated it. Anytime you do a gag on that, I don't like it. It's like, leave that fucking moment alone. Leave it alone. That was a singularly amazing fucking moment. That was serendipitous. There's that word again. That he just happened to be too sick to want to do the scene. So they changed it, and it changed the movie.
Yeah.
By the way, Don, those pistols are about $1,000.
I'm not surprised.
1917?
Yeah. I looked them up. I wondered how much they were.
I mean, my
Colt
Python was like $700 when I bought it new. And
well, Smith & Wesson came out in 1955 with a model. It was a Model 25. Look this one up, John. Model 25-2. Or, well, that's what it is today. But they came out with a 45 ACP revolver in 55. I don't know if it had the Model 25-2 designation then or not, but
it's between for used, it's between $750 and $1,000.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Interesting. Well, they're a great little addition if you can afford one. Let me tell you.
That's a nice looking revolver.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying to find a photo from Indiana Jones with him with it in his hand. Oh, there's one. That's a nice one. This is right up in the camera here. This is nice.
And by the way, that was, if I'm not mistaken, the same sidearm that Sergeant War Daddy had in Fury, Brad Pitt. Or Staff Sergeant War Daddy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Joseph. Thank you.
What's that?
The name of
Professor Brody.
Brody, yes.
Who gets lost in his own museum.
Yeah, I hated that. They took an interesting character and made him dumb. I get so tired of that shit. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed that movie, but that just pissed me the fuck off. There we go.
Going into harm's way, you can never go wrong with the 1911.
There we go. There's a good shot of it. Close up.
Yeah.
And one thing I did love about Spielberg's movies was the gun effects. It used to irritate me with John Carpenter that he would use these terrible tinny gun sound effects. You'd see a gun go off. It would have that sound. And bullets zipping by would sound like lasers, which, you know, the only guns that make that sound, bullets that make that sound are subsonic bullets. They'll make that zip sound. The rest of the time they snap. And
I was an assistant
Spielberg brought
sniper.
these. Yeah.
I was an assistant sniper on the SWAT team back in the 80s. And I had heard about a trick that, of course, you're using a sniper rifle. I had a Remington 700. My caliber was 5.56 or 223. The number one sniper had a 308. But if you're shooting at a target, okay, that has like buildings between you and the target or trees, as that bullet zips past the building or tree or whatever, that will make a very audible sonic crack.
Yep.
And it sounds like the round is coming actually from a different position than it actually is. It's a little something to keep in mind if you ever find yourself in that position.
It's really funny, you know, because I told Don, it pissed him off how my dad would do that. He would make me go down range to get the targets and set up new ones, and he would fire over my head, so I would know what it sounded like when bullets, you know, were coming, and startled the shit out of me. And I've had weapons fired over my head before, you know. Well, I mean, after in the military, and it's a very distinct thing. The ones that always get me, and I was watching a show the other day with Anima, where some guys were firing live ammo over each other. Military guys are idiots. And they're firing live ammo. And there was this one moment where you could hear the subsonic round go overhead. And even watching it, I went,
is that the same guy? Is that the same guy that buried the gun or left the gun out for 3 months?
No, different guy, but he's part of that same network, though, because I think he's been on that other guy's show.
What the hell's a camper, Jeebus?
A camper is in first-person shooters, it's someone that hangs out at the spawn point that kills you as soon as you respawn. as soon as you show up in the game.
There's another meaning for camper too. Snipers are called campers because they'll find a singular location and just camp it and just start killing people. And it's a preferred location because it's hard to get to. And I refer to that. I don't like calling them campers. Those guys that do that, that's a challenge to me. When those guys
you don't want to fire more than 2 rounds from the same spot. Okay.
Yeah, you want to move around.
It behooves you to move your ass out of there because sure as hell
they'll get location.
Somebody's going to locate you.
Because what happens with live fire is you get the sound of the bullet zipping by, but you'll also get what's called a report. And the report, instinctively, our hearing, stereo listening, we can quickly turn and listen to gunfire and narrow down where it's coming from. Buildings, urban combat is one of the hardest ones to do that with because sound echoes. But eventually they'll narrow it down where you're at. And so if you're a sniper in an urban setting, you need to find a location that's more open and less likely to give away your position.
Well, the best way to handle that, and I do have some experience with that, is to find yourself a nice room, preferably 2nd or 3rd floor, open up the window, and then move
camp your ass far back.
all the way back.
Yep, all the way back. Get away from that window so they don't see the muzzle flash, the dust kick up, or smoke.
Now, if you're out in the field, oh boy. And you're going to be sniping from a position. Do yourself a favor if you have a handkerchief or a some kind of cloth material, maybe an extra shirt. Put it out in front of your position so your muzzle is over it, because your muzzle will cook up debris from the ground, and that will suppress it. Okay, that's a little trick that snipers learn early on. You know what I'm talking about, Gary?
Oh yeah. In fact, if anybody gets a chance to watch it, or watch it for the first time, or watch it again, Act of Valor is a really good film, and they showed some interesting things, and some people bitched about it. U.S. Navy was involved with the making of that film. Yeah. Navy SEALs, every single guy in the film that was on the team is an actual real member of the SEALs, and but they showed 2 things that I really liked twice in it. They had a mesh cover for the binoculars they were looking through, and then the sniper was using, actually no, I've got it backwards. The sniper was using the mesh cover, and the binoculars had stockings on them, and it's all to keep reflection from the lens, because you can actually see through them just fine. And you can scope somebody, look through your binoculars, whatever you've got, you can cover. You want to cover that lens so it doesn't give your position away.
And it will.
Oh, it will.
Big time.
And because that's how Zaslav, not Zaslav, what's his name? Koenig supposedly got that German sniper. Oh, wait, I got it backwards. It is Zaslav, what's his name? The Russian sniper.
Vasily Zaitsev.
Supposedly got Walter Koenig, which I thought was ironic that the actor that would play a Russian had the same name as the Nazi sniper from that story. But they changed it in the movie, Enemy at the Gates. They made it look more like a gunfight at the OK Corral, where they were standing facing each other. That's not how it happened. What they showed in Saving Private Ryan is what really happened, where he was trying to narrow down, because they were snipe hunting each other, trying to figure out.
In city
urban combat. That's right.
Well, with all the debris around.
Everything. In fact, that's what they were hiding under, was debris. And finally, Zaitsev saw the hint of the scope, just a hint of it. And he aimed at it, and we fired. The round supposedly went into the lens and pushed the lens into his head and killed him.
Well, Carlos Hathcock was the most famous Marine sniper in Vietnam.
Yep.
A couple of tours.
Most wanted. He had a huge number.
He had a $30,000 bounty on his head. And this is after he dinged an NVA general. And that story is, oh my God, if you don't know about that, that is one hell of a rendition of what he did. This guy was talented beyond belief. Well, they sent an elite, the NVA, sent an elite team of NVA snipers armed with Soviet Mosin Nagant rifles.
There he is right there.
To find him. And they located where he was. This one NVA sniper had been killing Marines at, this is outside of Da Nang, at Hill, I think it was Hill 55, where the Marines had a base. Well, Hathcock and his observer went out looking for this sniper. And Hathcock used a Winchester Model 70 in 30-06, 30 caliber, to track this guy down. And they got into a standoff and shootout. And of course, a sniper shootout, not many rounds are expended. And the sniper fired once, hit his observer's canteen, blew the canteen up. The guy initially thought he was wounded. He wasn't, but they tracked each other through the brush and the swamp. Finally, Hathcock figured out where this guy was, just settled himself in to wait and observe, and suddenly he saw a flash from the Mosin Nagant scope. He zeroed on the flash, fired one round, and this is unbelievable, but that bullet went directly through the telescopic sight into the NVA's head, and that was the end of the standoff. One of the most amazing sniper shots of the Vietnam War. Did you know about that, Gary?
Yes. Yep. And I put the picture of him. He was, because you and I've talked about him before, one of the greatest snipers in the history of the form. And, I want to point out something. Growing up, because of all the war books I read, do you know what I wanted to be? Not a combat medic. I wanted to be a LRP. The whole idea of just going out.
They were all, for the most part, 101st Airborne. Those guys.
LRPs are fucking awesome.
That's who they used primarily in the Asia Valley, which basically is where I was stationed up in I Corps, around the Asia, and that was a very, very tricky place to be. You've heard of the Asia Valley, right?
Oh yeah. LRPs, it's LRRP, Long Range Reconnaissance Patrols, and when I was a kid and I'd read these books with my dad, and I'm like, when I grow up, I want to be one of these guys. Just go off alone with the M21, which if you guys don't know, an M21 is just a modified M14. It's used by snipers. And what a weapon.
Huh? Was used.
I think it's still in use by some because I've seen them.
It's been greatly modified. They chopped a lot of that barrel off.
They made it. They modified it to a point to where it's almost its own new weapon. And
but it's a 30 caliber, and that
hunting
was
quality.
What was needed in the sandbox, a 30 caliber. That's why the 5.56 was not always optimal over there. From everybody I talked to,
you hit a leaf, and it just a fucking leaf, man, can fuck your 5.56 up, spin it, send it in another direction. I don't know if you remember, even with the Foothill incident in Sacramento, when that Asian street gang took all those people hostage at Good Guy's store, and the sniper took a shot, and it wasn't powerful enough of a round. And the door was slanted, the glass door. And the glass door, the bullet hit it and deflected it slightly, and he missed the target, and it cost the lives of a bunch of people. Because once that door shattered, a guy went down the line just shooting everybody. And we saw it live on camera, and I was with Foothill Ambulance at the time. We were staged like blocks away when I was a paramedic and in the military. Fucking
well,
mess.
If you want to get real serious, go to the Barrett.
Yeah, the Barrett. I tell people all the time, if you want to know what happens when the 50 caliber hits a human body, there's so much gas collected in front of that round because it's so fucking big that by the time it reaches you, the first thing that hits you and starts tearing your tissue apart isn't the round itself, it's the gas in front of it.
But it happens so quick. Who cares?
It disrupts. And I wrote a scene. You'd like this scene. I'm going to find a copy of City of Fire when I wrote it, based off of the incident that took place in Mosul on June 24th, 2004. And all the other strikers had the automatic robotic 50s that were controlled from down below near the FBCB2 system. And you would control the 50 from there, inside, safe. The very back rear striker was the only one that had a mounted 50 that a guy had to sit up on. True story, this happened. He's sitting there just chilled in the back. They don't even know what's going on yet. They were told to go out there because supposedly insurgents had taken over a mosque and a police station. And they're still getting intel. And this very back striker is just sitting there, this guy on the machine gun on the 50, just sitting there with his hands relaxed on the butterfly trigger, just chilling, looking straight down an alleyway. And all of a sudden, this Haji jumps up, hops up in the air and comes down. It's just kind of goofy. Ha-ha, kind of jump, leaps right into his line of sight with an RPG aimed right at him. And he looks at that and realizes, I don't have to move my gun. He is literally in my sights. And all he does is goes thump, one round, thump, and hits the guy with a single fucking 50 caliber, and the whole upper part of his body vaporized. True story.
Well, that's the best thing for him.
Yep.
That's one less Haji. Goodbye.
As Rob Tapert would say to Josh Becker about going fishing and putting the hook in the minnows' heads, he said, yeah, but the minnows like it. So, and the only thing I changed in the script was in order to create drama, I had the RPG fire and skim the surface of the striker just for drama because it would look cool on camera, and I knew it would. But the truth of it is he never even got that fucking shot. It's just the guy just went just real quick on the butterfly, and fucking guy evaporated.
And the guy that we very, very seldom have ever acknowledged is the god of firearms development, John Moses Browning.
Browning,
who not only
BAR,
created the Madus, he created the BAR, he created the Model 1911. I mean, this guy, the Model 97 Winchester shotgun, which, by the way, the Imperial German Army loathed that thing in trench warfare. The guy was pure, unmitigated genius. John
yes,
Moses
he was.
Browning.
Now, we bring up the Browning. The first thing I think about is how a big movie actor, I forget the hell it was going to do a Korean War film. And the first thing he gets handed was the BAR. And he's like, oh, this thing's too heavy. I don't want to carry this. He says, give me that Thompson. And Thompson's like, when it's fully loaded, even, God, it's a fucking heavy gun. And so finally he's like, what's lighter than this? And so they ended up giving him a what do you call it? M1 carbine. the little World War II M1 carbine. He carried that in the movie because it's like really lightweight. Before we go, I guess I could make a comment on this because we're going to be going here in a minute. King's Crowd, next time that Max is him at suck. We bring up this fucking asshole. Yeah. I don't know if you guys have seen my posts. Everybody else has seen them. He went after Polly, and Polly is a friend of ours. He's a friend of mine, and he took a shot at my buddy. And people are like, well, how do you think he shot him? I said, what he did was, with one comment, he was shitting on Robert Meyer Burnett by saying, look who you're posing with. These people, the people you choose to be around. Like, what is that supposed to mean? He's shitting on Polly. Gary Beekler's a big boy. He starts shit on his own. I'm not going to defend him, but Polly has never started shit with anybody. Polly is a sweetheart of a human being, one of the nicest guys I know. And to fucking do that to him, Matt Jarbo can go fuck himself. He bit, God damn it. I hate bringing this up because Mikey Sutton had been dealing with him, helping him, doing stuff with him. And then Matt Jarbo bit the hand that feeds him. He's he's mentally ill or something. There's something wrong with that guy. I will never interact with him. And if RMB sits down with him at a table, he just rewarded bad behavior if he does it. I think that's repugnant. I think Jarbo needs to be, I never talk about him. Never. This is the first time I've ever said his name on this channel. I do not like him. I think he's a scumbag. I think he's a horrible human being. I think that he has hurt people.
What did I say to you yesterday about this?
I know. I'm trying not to be mad about it.
High school bullshit.
It is. It's high school bullshit. It really is.
You can always tell if a guy or a woman have served in the armed forces or not, because this is the kind of shit that just says to me, and believe me, I've seen thousands like this, thousands, that these people never grew up, never had that reality moment slap them in the mud, Gary.
Yeah. I got to tell you, and Kingsport Cal, you're totally right. He relies on other people who he's betrayed. He's betrayed a lot of people. He's betrayed their trust and their confidence. And I've never liked him. Keith and I both tried to warn Mikey Sutton not to deal with him. He would even Baum, his manager, was listening to us going, Mikey might not want to. Oh, because Mike is just a decent human being. Mikey Sutton, very nice guy. And he just automatically assumes that because he's nice, nobody's going to ever mess with him. Not true. Jarbo absolutely attacked him, mocked him, and he's mocking an older man who has had a stroke. That's Jarbo. Jarbo has no class. He's a classless piece of shit. I don't care. He's gone after me twice now. I blocked him. I don't give a shit what he says. I'm not going to interact with him. But I'm telling you guys, the best way to deal with Matt Jarbo is ignore him. And after today, I'm not going to talk about him anymore because I find it to be, it lowers, I feel bad about myself when I'm talking about him because I'm giving him attention. And that's all he wants. If R&B sits down with him, he's giving him attention and he's giving him relevance. Two things that Matt Jarbo doesn't deserve.
Jarbo's already weaseled out of it, so you don't have to worry about that. Yeah,
because he's a pussy. He can't back up a single fucking thing he says. I'm sorry to get angry, but guys like him are the guys I used to seek out in school to beat the shit out of. I'm like, oh, I heard some of the shit you said about a buddy of mine. Say it to me. And dare him. Fuck, I cannot stand that guy. And, he's an internet tough guy. He talks a fucking good game. Run into me at a fucking con and say it. I don't know if you were there, John, but there was that one guy that talked shit to me on Facebook. And I was at game And he started to walk in the door, and he saw me and all the artists all looking at him like the Last Supper, smiling at him. Just a bunch of us behind the table. And I was artist, what do they call it? Guest artist of the show. And I'm just grinning at him. And he just stopped what he was doing, saw me, and then turned around and left, and he never came back. Because he realized, I could talk a good game online, but Gary's fucking big. And I heard he hurts people. And I really want
Gary,
yeah,
my ass is telling me 2 hours is way past up.
Yeah, my ass too. So we are 2 hours and 4 minutes into it. That's the end of the show. I didn't get my music, so we went over.
Oh, you were too enthralled in your rant. So
yeah, play the song so I know. It doesn't matter.
No, I was having fun with it.
Oh, whatever, dick. So, in the end, the show is over. Don, you got any last thoughts before we go?
I hope everybody, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, had a wonderful, wonderful holiday. I wish you, my wife and I both wish you a very, very happy New Year. And if you're around this afternoon, check out me and Mr. Kissell on Dangerous Military Nerds. We're going to be having Commander Cobra on, and it should be one hell of a show.
And I do want to apologize. We're not going to do an after show. I've got too much to do for this afternoon. So, but maybe after that one, we might be able to. So I'll send an invite then. But this morning, we just don't have time. There's too much going on. So I hope everybody has a safe day. And please do come back and check us out for Dangerous Nerds. John, any last thoughts? Martine?
Nope. I think we're good.
All right. Well, I do want to say that we...
Hey, guys. Thanks for watching Pop Culture Minefield. If you've enjoyed the show, please make sure to like, subscribe, and don't forget to click the bell icon for updates on our shows and channel. Also, please leave a comment, and we'd like to know what you thought of the episode, as well as letting us know if there's something you'd like us to cover in a future episode. Don't forget that you can become a member of Pop Culture Minefield now. Make sure to visit our membership page and merch store at popcultureminefield.com. You can always find Pop Culture Minefield on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram,